Jim, thank you for that. And obviously, we're trying to get a melding here of what the past will be used to harness the significance of the present and the future. Let's bring in Jim Acosta. He's been traveling with the president and obviously pressing issues right now for the president to be dealing with. And a key advisor for her, for him is, of course, Susan Rice. You had a chance to speak to her. What do you know, Jim?
That's right. That's right, Chris. I did have a chance to talk to the President's National Security Advisor, Susan Rice, and we talked about this chance encounter that the President might have with Vladimir Putin. And she reminded me during our interview that the President and Vladimir Putin have had several chances to speak over the phone. So she wasn't entirely sure whether or not they would speak face-to-face. But if he does have a chance to speak to Putin at length, she said that he will emphasize that, as Jim Sciutto was saying, that the United States would like to see Russia stand down and have those separatists in eastern Ukraine stand down. She said, when I asked her, is the president letting Putin off the hook by some of this talk earlier this week of rebuilding relations with Russia? And she said absolutely not, that the threat of sectoral sanctions for Russia still exists. And Chris and Kate, as you know, all this week, the president has been somewhat distracted by this controversy surrounding the release of former POW Bo Bergdahl, who was freed in exchange for those 5 Taliban prisoners who were released from the U.S. detention center at Guantanamo. I asked Susan Rice about that because, as you recall, on one of the Sunday talk shows last Sunday, she described Bo Bergdahl as having served in the U.S. military, quote, with honor and distinction. That rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. There are some fellow soldiers who say Bo Bergdahl may have been a deserter, although that has not been proven, according to the U.S. government. And I asked her about those comments, and she sought to clarify those comments during our interview. Here's what she had to say. Let me ask you about some comments you made last Sunday on one of the Sunday talk shows. You said that Bo Bergdahl served with honor and distinction. It's come out since then that some of his fellow soldiers say he was a deserter. He may have wandered off the post there in Afghanistan. Did you misspeak? Did you get that wrong?
Jim, I realize there's been a lot of discussion and controversy around this, but what I was referring to is the fact that this was a young man who volunteered to serve his country in uniform at a time of war. That is itself a very honorable thing. But honor and distinction. Jim, really, I mean, this is a young man whose circumstances we are still going to learn about. He is, as all Americans, innocent until proven guilty.
And Susan Rice went on to say in that interview that Bo Bergdahl deserves to have the chance to sell his side of the story, and that we'll be hearing that in the coming months. We also talked about Syria and whether or not the U.S. is missing an opportunity to stop Bashar al-Assad in that bloody civil war. We talk about that conversation, potentially that might take place with Vladimir Putin, a lot of other issues to tackle during that interview. We'll have that later on today right here on CNN.